I'm gonna tell you guys this story while we're running errands, and Jeremy's about to get his vaccine because I could give a fuck less. So we're gonna call the person in the story Mark. What you need to know about Mark is that he is female to male trans, because that comes up later in the story. It's not just because I'm trying to call someone out. But basically, me and Mark used to run around in this little hometown of his, and this place was really, really small. Like, basically their entire downtown was like one street, and it wasn't even like a long one, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was itty bitty. We would run around and we just did not do the right things. We were underage drinking, we was selling things to people. We was just not good, to say the least. He had like bad family connections, like his main, like, you know, mom, dad, brother, sister kind of thing just was not good. He didn't get along with his family. I was okay with my family. I was just a crackhead, that's all. Like, we were just bad influences on each other. We ended up running away to Cali together, which, again, I'll get to that another time in a later story. But I mentioned it in my last video. We're gonna go watch that wherever it will be on the screen. I think it's over here. But yeah, basically, by the time we got back, nobody trusted us together as friends, hanging out, being in our house, blah blah blah. Like, we were really bad people. Like, I stole from my family. Like, we lied a lot to everybody. Like, it was just not good. We were not a good mix. But anyways, we ended up not being friends after Cali. When we came back from Cali, like I said in my last story, like, I lost all my friends, or like I just wasn't friends with them anymore. I guess I didn't really lose them. I kind of chose to distance myself. We ended up moving out, like in the last story, with Shitflakes, Jeremy, me, and Mark. I ended up getting Mark a job at Bojangles as well. Things were going good. Like, we all just lived together. We all were just chilling. We all kicked Shitflakes out together. Like, after the time we had spent together running around in this small town, like doing bad things and everything, like, this was a much better scene for us both. We were doing really good. And as this time went on, I kind of started distancing myself from Mark, because I noticed that he still wanted to party and still wanted to, you know, I don't know, get drunk every night, do this or that, which honestly, we spent a lot of time at the apartment getting drunk. I'm not gonna act like, you know, I was just like clean slate, but I was kind of on my way to just like acting better, especially being with Jeremy, because he wasn't about it. So we just kind of like settled down, and I could tell that like me and Mark's relationship was just kind of like, because I just wasn't trying to do all that anymore. It's not like, you know, oh, I'm better than you, like, I'm not doing that anymore, but it was just like, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't feel like it. Like, I've got more shit to lose, like my job, this apartment, blah blah blah. Let's get to the dirty business. Basically, Mark ran into $8 grand. I'm not gonna start his business how, but he ran into $8 grand. No, he didn't steal it or rob anybody for it. Let me throw that out there after I've explained Mark's action. So he kind of went back to like the hometown that we had been at, running around with all these bad people and everything, to flex, basically, which that was never outright said, but that's pretty much like, why else do you go back to the place where you've been dying to get out of? That's another thing. Like, dude, we would count down the days for him to get out of his hometown, more specifically his mama's house. But like, we used to count it down. Like, we used to always talk about how much better we was gonna do and everything. So it really was kind of frustrating what I'm about to tell you, after we had literally got an apartment together, got a job, like did everything we said we was gonna do. So like, when he went to flex, he like started handing out money, not to like everybody, but to like his sisters, who he knew wasn't gonna pay him back, but you know, family, I get that. But then he also started buying like drugs, we'll just put it that way, drugs. I don't know if that was just because he genuinely wanted it again, or if that was also a flex for everyone in the hometown, you know, look how much I can get kind of thing. But he ended up also getting clothes, a bed, like a California king size bed, a big TV, like, and all the clothes were nice. They were from the mall. Like, he bought name brands, like he bought a bunch of shoes and everything, like really nice stuff. So he was kind of like, from the outside perspective, it looked like he was balling out. But being someone who knew him, being someone who lived with him, things were spiraling for him. It's like drug usage went up, morals went down. You could tell, and it wasn't specifically anything like in his work, or I guess it was the actions, but if you didn't know him like on a day-to-day basis, like he would stay in his room all the time. He was really private. Like, he started making a mess in his room when he was someone who used to vacuum his bed. Like, so it was just kind of like watching someone kind of tear themselves apart. And since I already had distanced myself, I was kind of just upset that any of it was happening again, because I felt like we were doing good, like we were on this path, and then he started going down this path again. So it was just kind of frustrating, and I just kind of distanced myself more. It had been like years and years and years of friendship, so it was just, and it was years and years of this buildup of like, we're gonna do better, and then to not do better was just kind of frustrating, especially once we had the opportunity to, once we had paved our pathway to success. Started like running around at night again, like with all these people from the old hometown, hanging out with them, hanging out at motels, hanging out at their houses, running out in the night, coming back in the middle of the night, you know, telling us all this and that happened. He ended up selling everything that he bought, but the TV, the shoes, like every pair of shoes, all the nice clothes, ended up selling it all to buy more drugs, really. One time he came home from like a night out, and he's like talking about how he got like kicked in the stomach and this and that, and he got cuts. He had like all these tiny little cuts all over his face. I don't know, I have the pictures, but I don't know how to include them and still be able to blur out the face. I'm gonna try. He never showed us pictures, is the thing. I got these pictures from my friend after eating out with her one day, and we were just talking about it, and I was like, yeah, like he came home, he said he got cuts all over his face, like someone cut him up. And at first when I saw this, I was just kind of like, who would do that, and who only cut your face in little tiny marks all over your face? It looked like cat scratches, honestly. And then my friend was like, she was like, this, and showed me, and I'm like, yeah. And then she shows me another one of it actively happening, and she's like, no, Mark did that to himself, and was like sending me pictures while he was doing it. And so I'm like, so did he just go out after that and then come back and tell us? Like, why would you go out of your way to do that and then tell us something else happened? Like, it was definitely like a cry for help, definitely, like, you know what I mean? But this was not new for Mark. This honestly just kind of, it just fit with his action. It just wasn't that surprising, unfortunately. And by that time, I was just so fed up that I just really didn't care anymore. Honestly, like, that's bad to say, I guess, but I was so exhausted, and I was so tired of seeing him do so bad when I felt like we could have done so good. Like, you know, before it's like, oh, we can't do good because of so, because we're with our parents, because da-da-da-da-da. But then you were in a perfect opportunity to do better and you didn't. And obviously it is mental health, but I'm not a therapist. I don't know how to fix that. Like, I as much as I would want it to help, there's nothing I can do to help you. And I had felt like I had supported him long enough in his endeavors. Like, again, I said, it had been years. The big beef of it all is Jeremy and him went out to a motel one night, and they were drinking, they were doing things probably that they shouldn't have. What ended up is he got really sick, Mark, like really sick, like threw up all over the place. I wasn't there, but Jeremy was there, and because I honestly, like, I stopped hanging out with him. Even when he was hanging out with Jeremy, like, I didn't want to go out and party anymore. I didn't want to go to a motel. I didn't want to do any of that. Jeremy went out with them, and he ended up getting really, really sick to the point, like, he threw up everywhere in the motel. So Jeremy just gathered all his stuff and gathered him up, and they got into the car. Like, he's like helping him home. An important thing to note is that Jeremy left the rest of Mark's alcohol in the motel and just left without it, just gathering up like his book bag and like his phone and this and that, and just getting him home, because like that's all that mattered. Mark woke up the next day, I think it was around 7 a.m. I was there. I guess I was just asleep. I don't know. But Mark woke up. He was mad, to say the least, upset. He was saying, like, where's the alcohol? Jeremy's like, I left it. So he felt like he didn't get enough fun, or he didn't get enough alcohol last night, even though he threw up. Like, obviously your body had said, hey, you had enough. But he wanted it. He's like, where is it? Like, oh, so you stole it from me. Oh, he thought like Jeremy took the rest or something, or I don't know what he thought. I don't know, but he got very mad. I don't know if I stopped the text, but I'm sitting there texting him like, we can get more, like, it's fine. Apparently it was not to Mark. It was not fine. And I can't even tell you, like, my brain must have blocked it out, but it escalated so much. It turned into a full-on argument between Mark and Jeremy, and Mark started attacking him. This was not the first time Mark had ever attacked him. They got in an argument before, and Mark had taken our tobacco pipe, the big one, tobacco tobacco pipe and swung it at Jeremy's head. So this was not the first time. We had to forgive, you know, I begged Jeremy to forgive him and let him stay there. Jeremy was like, fine. But Jeremy wanted to get rid of him then. And then he started attacking again, this time much worse. He's throwing scissors. He tried to stab him with a butter knife, which obviously you didn't actually try to stab him, because if you want to stab someone with a butter knife, you gonna stab him. He's just kind of, you know, like just trying to scare Jeremy, I guess. But it hit his stomach over here and it left marks, and I don't even know how. At one point he like scratched his chest up, which I don't even know if I still have that picture. He just went full-on ballistic on him. He's trying to hit him with a chair. Obviously Jeremy caught it because Mark was much tinier than Jeremy. But he tried to light him on fire after burning a jacket that Jeremy had given him on the patio. The whole mess. Like, dude went off, lost his mind. He took a lot of like psychedelics, and then on top of the other drug use and on top of the drinking, I just feel like he was not thinking clearly at all. Not to excuse any of the actions, but I feel that he was just not mentally there. I think by the end of it, he didn't even remember like why he was even this mad, because he kept saying it wasn't about the alcohol, but then okay, then what was it about? I think it was like a long time of like him just hating Jeremy and him being upset with probably the fact that we weren't as good friends as we used to be, and it wasn't gonna change. Yeah, because he ended up like in the argument saying like, oh, that's why Jeremy cheated on you and stuff, and it's like, all right, like, sure. He ended up calling him, and you'll maybe learn about this in my Cali video, he ended up calling him the dude we went to Cali with. It seemed like a lot of PTSD was coming out. It seemed like a lot of internal anger, like a lot of projection was happening. Crazy, right? Jeremy was like, I'm gonna call the cops because he acting out. To me, I've never been one to call the cops. I don't know, I just don't. Like, I don't, maybe I should, but I don't know, I guess I kind of had that kind of like in my head, like, you don't call the cops, like that just gets everyone in trouble, like it don't matter, like it's just gonna mess everything up for everyone, like it's just a stupid argument, blah blah blah. The dude was like trying to hit him, dude was punching him. I mean, bringing punches around that way, not like punching me, you know, just like bringing him around that way kind of thing. Scratching him, just angry, just like kicking. He tried to kick him in the balls and stuff. So Jeremy took his arms like here and here and was just holding them. Like, dude, control yourself. Because like I mentioned before, Mark was female to male. So Jeremy didn't find it appropriate to hit him back. Because of that, Jeremy didn't feel right, as he should, you know. I think how much he was drinking before and everything, I think he bruised up real easy. Or maybe Jeremy was squeezing his arms, trying to keep him stay still, because he's still trying to attack them. Like, he was still trying to kick even when Jeremy was holding his arms. Like, he was just going crazy with it, like, for real. Eventually, somewhere in an argument, like, you know, he's trying to bash Jeremy, calling him home dude, calling him like, oh, he's cheating on you. So eventually he was like, I'm gonna put you in jail for assault on a female. And he kept saying it over and over again, and then he would hit Jeremy and everything. I think he was trying to get Jeremy to hit him back so that he could call it, which Jeremy never hit him back, but he called anyways. He eventually left the house. We got him locked out. Actually, what we ended up doing was inviting Jeremy's friend over. And it was like, once he knew the friend was coming over, once he knew someone else who wouldn't accept him for his crazy, like I had done in the past, or like Jeremy had done technically the first time he attacked him. Like, once he realized someone else could call the cops on me, basically, or know that I was acting out, he left. Once he left, he ran to my mama and told her that Jeremy had been beating up on me. And my mom was like, okay, well, if that's true, then just call the cops. You know, like, dirt. He had like that kind of like backup, I guess. He felt like someone was gonna be there to be like, yeah, he did it, you know, kind of thing. He called the cops. So the cops had to come out, and they checked him, and they did see the bruises on his arms. So Jeremy ended up with this charge from the state or whatever. And then they came into our apartment. They saw all the mess, holes in a wall from scissors being thrown, and the wall still actively on those scissors. Scratch on Jeremy's chest, you know. But he got a charge on him as well. So they both had to go to court. I still worked at Bojangles with Mark at this time. So like at Bojangles, like I'm just ignoring him. He like keep trying to talk to me, and I'm just like, you just attacked my boyfriend. and then go and call the cops after you act like you so big and bad, like fuck the police, but then call the cops. But anyways, it was just kind of like a weird time. Eventually he moved back to his hometown, the whole place you didn't want to be. Started working at the Bojangles in his hometown. So I stayed at Bojangles only for a little while more. I got fed up with all their shit because they all had gotten talked to by Mark, and like he would spread rumors talking about Jeremy beat me, or Jeremy's bad for me, or Jeremy does this and that, or like they da 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 da. Like I don't know, probably talking shit about me too. I don't really care, but I knew that people at Bojangles didn't like me. They acted like they did, and honestly I didn't really care that they didn't like me as long as you're not being rude to my face. But then there was like this time where they were just kind of like okay, so I left midday. I was like, no, fuck y'all. So I left. I was like, struggle with the rest of today's progress. I ended up getting my job at Kohl's after that. But so the court case was going on, and I had gotten text from him, and he's like, I just want to drop it. Like I don't want anything going on. Like I don't want anything on my record, blah blah blah. For a while it kind of took us a minute to decide, like, do we really want to drop this, because we know you did all that. Like you would get in trouble for that. But I was like, no, because let me not do that, because honestly, you're not here. I'm not trying to have bad karma because I caused bad on someone else. During the court case, like after all that got settled, he left and like everything, we went through his room, and that was crazy. Here are some pictures. Let's just, I'm gonna throw his business out like that, And this is the person who used to vacuum his bed. He had my panties in there. Again, female to male, so I think he was wearing them because they have blood in them, but I'm not sure why. It was like a whole struggle trying to get, like, because I had cops come out there, because I was like, no, you're not coming back in here and acting crazy or even mumbling something under your breath to start some shit, because I just don't even want to. Like, I'm not saying like, oh, I would have fought you. Like, I'm just like, I just didn't want it. I just didn't want to hear it. I didn't want it. It was already a whole big thing of arguments. I was just like, had a police escort come out so he could come get the rest of his stuff. I think it was me and either my mom or my grandma, I don't know, sitting in there waiting while he got all the rest of his stuff out. I knew that if the cops were there, he wouldn't be like mumbling or starting to, trying to start stuff. It was just nasty in there, and it was just like sad to see, because like for a while he had like locked us out of his room, like no one could come in there. Like we used to all go in his room to hang out, and then like he was like and I knew it was because things started getting dirtier and worse, but like, I mean, dang, So the court cases started going on. It lasted 2 years in total. It took 2 years for the entire thing to play out, because Mark never showed up to one. Actually, he showed up to the very first one, and he was late. And it wasn't even a real court case. It was to find out which courtroom you would be in or something like that, or if you had like a lawyer or something. And that was the only one he ever showed up to. And because of COVID, everything else was kind of like spread out. Because of this, Jeremy couldn't get a job, which he ended up doing DoorDash, so like it didn't really matter. But even though it was agreed to be dropped, they had to both be there in person, and he didn't show up. And there was like a total of 6 court cases, I think, maybe even more than that. So it was like a huge waste of time having to drive all the way downtown just for Jeremy to show up. Even though they have other cases going on, it's still a waste of time for us. So even though we agreed to drop it, Mark got a FTA. Failure to appear, which is a warrant for your arrest, when we agreed to drop it. Like, I sometimes thinking about it makes me so frustrated, because I'm like, we were gonna do so much better, and now you've stuck yourself in a situation that is worse for you. You're back exactly where you didn't want to be, and you got an FTA, you got a warrant. Like, if you ever get pulled over in your car, even for something simple like speeding, that's it. You got jail time. And not to mention, like, if you don't get your record, if you don't get it expunged off your record, that's sitting there too. Even though it was dismissed, it's there. So it just looks like you're a huge troublemaker. And it just makes me think, Jeremy should have called the cops when he said he was gonna. Like, sometimes I hate that I told him, no, don't call the cops, don't call the cops. He should have, because then he wouldn't have had any charge, wouldn't have had to gone through all that, wouldn't have had to waste all that time and have it expunged and this and that. He could have just had you charged, and you have the same shit that you have on your record now. Like, and it's funny though, because like a year after the first court case, So we're still during the court cases, like it's still going on. But I don't think he knew, because like his lawyer dropped him because he couldn't get in touch with him. Like no one in the courthouse could get in touch with him. So his lawyer dropped him, and he texted us a year later after all that, and he's like, hey, you know, like, whatever. I sent a bunch of clown emojis because I was just like, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. But he did. He was like, you know, like, oh, just wanted to be like, no beef, whatever. And Jeremy texted him back, because he texted Jeremy too, and he's like, it's cool. Like, we don't have any beef. I don't want any bad onto you, but like, we can't be friends no more. And that's kind of where I stood too. Like, no, we're not gonna be friends. But I asked him, I was like, why was my underwear in your room? He's like, the laundry must have got mixed up. No, because we didn't do laundry together. We didn't. Me and Jeremy did laundry together, but it was separate from yours. So no. And I don't know, the fact that there was still like lying going on then, I'm like, you haven't changed, nothing. So no, we can't be friends. Although even if you would have told the truth, we can't be friends after you tried to attack, set my boyfriend on fire. Like, I don't know. Like, would you be friends afterwards? After years of the same shit, like, you know? But that's pretty much the entire story of bad roommate number 2. So come back for 3 and 4. Why did I keep letting people move in? Go check out my Why Nobody Can Move Out, and that explains right there why. That's all.